Did I end up spending money on Amazon in January? Did I hit the goals that I set out for myself during my no spend January? And where am I gonna go from here now that it's February? Come on, let's chat about it. Here's an update. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Faith in Everyday. My name is Tara Joy Lyric. I am so glad that you're here. Today, I'm gonna talk about an update of how my no spend January went, where I really struggled, and some things that were surprising. So throughout the month of January, I post some updates over either in a post or on my shorts of how I did. And so let's look at what I spent my money on in January. So on the 2nd, I spent money on snacks for the ride home, and that was $17, mainly because I didn't plan. And you'll find that that is a common theme throughout the month of January. The 2nd, we also did takeout, but we budgeted in $150 for takeout. So let's look at how much we spent on takeout for the month. The 6th, I did some disc to digital. We don't have a DVD player that connects to our TV. So if I get DVDs, I automatically try to transfer them to a digital format before I determine whether or not we're going to keep the DVDs with the small DVD player that connects to my computer. So I did that. I did the Voodoo disc to digital, and that was $17. On the 9th, I spent money on tickets to the Candlelight concert, which is $157, which is in a few weeks, and we're still very excited about that. My son continually asks me, when is the concert? When is it coming? Do we have to dress up? All this different stuff. So up until that point, I did so good with not spending money on going to gas stations or, getting a takeout coffee or going and grabbing a snack other than that one time. I did end up having to order a few things on Amazon. So I did buy things on Amazon, just not for me. Our kids' sippy cup valves ended up getting just ruined, kind of punctured with knives, and so we needed to order some new valves, and unfortunately those weren't able to be picked up at Walmart, and so we had to order those on Amazon. I also discovered that my daughter is starting to grow out of her clothes. The one thing that I did say was a rule was that I could buy something if it was a replacement for other things. She was starting to get very tight in her clothing, so we had to move to the next size. So on the 18th, I spent on the valves and the new outfits for my daughter about $70. There were a few things as I went through my bank statement. It's the beginning of the year, which means that usually if you signed up for something last year, it's starting to renew again at the beginning of the year. I found some recurring charges that I was not expecting, and I had thought I'd canceled, but I didn't. And so I had one for a language app, and that was $15. I have one for a backup system that I'm not even using, which is really upsetting, for $100. We also got charged for our Easy Pass to replenish our Easy Pass. So that was unfortunately a necessary expense, but it just happened when, I didn't even get an email about it. So that was unexpected. Also, Amazon Prime membership for the year renewed at $150. Streaming services or the recurring subscriptions that you have not canceled yet. Being that I was trying to really look at what I was spending, seeing these recurring charges as I was looking at it was kind of defeating. It was oh, gotta be kidding me. I think if I added it all up, I probably, on recurring items that I was not anticipating, it probably went into the couple hundreds of dollars. The number one thing that I think was extremely helpful this month was to go and write out a list of things that I want to buy, but I'm not going to buy list. Baby dumbbells, that was while I was working out, and I had shared that story in the previous video. Again, saved myself $20 for doing that. Hand steamer, my sheets have wrinkles, and I was oh, maybe I should get a hand steamer. That's $35. I don't really need that. Fleece sheets, so instead of buying brand new bottom fleece sheets for $35, instead I just grabbed another blanket for myself. Will I purchase that this month? I don't know, maybe. I get pretty cold when I'm sleeping, so it is kind of up in the air. I might purchase the fleece sheets. Also, I was able to extend my foundation throughout this month, but it is getting low, so that's going to be an expense that I am going to have to pay when it comes down to it. Now, the main goal of this whole thing was not to like skimp as much as possible. It was to really focus on being content with what I have and not overspending on things that I don't really need. So, do I think that this month was a failure? No, I don't. I think that I really did what I set out to do, but a few things were highlighted that I'm going to be able to be intentional about going forward, such being writing down what I think I need or what I want before I buy the item and give it some time before I purchase it so that it's not an impulse purchase and not an emotional purchase, which is what was great about this list, is that I was able to put down what I want in the list and go back at the end of the month and be like, man, no, I don't really need those things. This would, or that would be nice, but we don't have the money right now, so let's just wait. Let me save for it before we buy it. And so I think that is going to be something that I implement going forward, is a, to buy list. Just things that pop into my head of like, oh man, this would be really helpful. Like the cubes that are in my son's room, bookshelf cube unit. It would be really nice to have non-fabric cubes. It would be really nice to have good hard plastic cubes, just because they're way more durable with how rough our boys are with them. So that is something that's on my mind, but I may implement let's wait until we need to replace them. This whole experiment of no spending for a whole month really allowed me to become aware of some of my spending habits, of how I just instantly put it on a cart, and being able to stop myself and have those processes of being able to write it down and then wait. So that was a really cool thing to be able to notice. Also, I noticed that I need to be way better at planning and forethought, and not just like trying to run out the door at the last minute, because I think that I honestly could have saved myself a little bit of that money and not going if I would have just packed my kids a snack or thought ahead and been like, man, we're going to be out for X amount of hours. Let me pack some extra things for them and for myself, to make sure that we don't go and spend money. Also, I dealt with some pretty serious fatigue towards the end of the month. I don't know whether it's back pain that I've been experiencing has been kind of killing my energy. We definitely didn't hit our how many times we eat out during a month budget. We ate out way more during those weeks because I'm the one who does the cooking at home. I think having a few homemade freezer meals in the freezer for those kind of evenings, because I know that I deal with some more fatigue 1 week out of the month where I'm just really kind of drained and fatigued to the point where I just cannot cook. And so I think that having the plans in there, knowing that about the way that my cycle works, and knowing that I'm going to be getting pretty exhausted during one of the weeks is to be helpful to plan with meals in the freezer that we could just pop in the oven, that are super easy, that I don't have to think about, I don't have to put really that much energy towards. So ultimately, just the lesson of just really planning, and I think that could have eliminated the amount of times that we went out to eat. Just made me aware of like where I'm spending my money, and being able to second guess myself of like, the other day when I was going to pick up groceries at Walmart, on the way home, there was a Sheetz, and it's like, oh, well, it's February, I can go and buy a coffee. It's like, yeah, but do I need to, or can I just make one at home? And I decided at that point that I was going to make it at home. And I think that was really good progress, honestly. If you did a no spend and you feel like you failed it, or you feel like you just didn't plan and you ended up spending money on whatever it is, I think it's not necessarily a failure, because you're learning those lessons. And yes, I didn't hit my goals for this month of like only spending a certain amount on takeout, and not spending money on convenience food, and not shopping on Amazon. I shopped on Amazon, but it was not for me. It wasn't for like things for the house, and it wasn't impulse. Okay, these are broken. We need to replace them. She's outgrowing this. We need to replace her clothes, because ultimately, like, replacing something is better and more intentional than just being like, oh, well, we just need this, and this, even though you have perfectly good items that do the exact same thing. So I think that just the lessons, just the learning, and starting to implement those things and having processes that will help in the future is really, like, I think the point of the month. I don't think that it's like to be perfect, because we definitely weren't, and life definitely hit us for a couple of weeks in January where I was just down for the count. I think that those lessons are the end point, and I just encourage you to, if you do a no spend month, or if you did and you feel like you didn't hit everything perfectly, it's okay. Just take the lessons that you're learning and just implement those things in the days going forward. We are much more valuable than whether or not we were able to do a certain thing perfectly. We are created in the image of God, and we have value beyond those things. So remember that. And if you're going to do a no spend, try to implement some of the things that I learned in order to help you get through that month, or however long that you're doing it. So shalom, shalom, friends.